When you look at the architecture of a survival plan, there are layers of safety you can prepare for that are designed for different purposes and spans of time. So a common short-term preparation is the 72-hour window, which is all about mobility and shock absorption. And typically we have to escape our house or escape a vehicle because there's some damage that's been done, and then we have to survive somewhere else for a couple days or so. And one of the items you need for this, which is actually something that we should always have at home, is a proper first aid kit. Not just a collection of boxes of Band-Aids, but a complete first aid kit that has all the usual supplies in it. And you should know how to use some of the most important items, like the sanitization wipes, the wound wraps, the wrap clips, the tape, and so on. Then there's the 3-month survival period, which focuses on sustainability and sanitation. And this is a period where shortages in first world countries is a daily reality. You heard right. In first world countries, we can experience shortages and famines. But these are usually not as severe and they don't last as long, but things can run out. So your storage needs to prioritize a deep pantry of non-perishable food. It should be a combination of very high calorie food, because most of your energy, for example, comes from carbohydrates. So you need lots of carbohydrates, you need some protein in your diet, and you need vitamins and minerals too. And this doesn't have to just be canned food or a vacuum packaged food. It can also be bulk whole foods like uncooked rice from California, because any other kind of rice has far too much arsenic to be eating every day, believe it or not. Other things like beans and peas and legumes, rolled oats, pasta, maybe some flours. If they're in bulk and they're sealed, then those are great sources of whole food. As well as the fats and seasonings that make these foods, palatable and calorie dense and cookable. And the best fats for this would be high quality olive oils, something that isn't cut with any other oil. That's why it's got to be at a good price, usually imported from Italy, has no other ingredients. Cold pressed coconut oil is very good too. If it's, organic and the best cold pressed, that's the best way to go. And sea salt or Himalayan salt. And, another thing about canned food is that they can still contain some BPAs in them. And at least for me and some other people, I suspect too, eating too much canned food, it really has a significant detrimental effect on your body's enzyme and digestion. Enzymatic processes. For me in particular, I have to stay away from canned food because I have very noticeable and kind of debilitating low stomach acid if I eat too much canned food or drink canned drinks too much. Then I become hypochlorhydric, almost achlorhydric. I don't even produce any stomach acid if I've been having this food for every day for a few weeks or so. And that is obviously a huge problem, because you need stomach acid to digest anything. And in fact, all those people complaining, all these usually older men complaining about their acid reflux and being bloated all the time, burping a lot, that's all hypochlorhydria and low stomach acid. There's no such thing as high stomach acid. That's not a real condition. It's just the experience of a loose valve where you're spitting up small amounts of acid and food because you don't have enough to keep things down. Your acid isn't breaking down the food. And when you have enough acid, your esophageal sphincter closes properly. So there's that side note. So good to get, vacuum sealed packaged foods or non-perishable, long-lasting foods that are otherwise packed in a box or something. Sanitization can become more important if the water supplies stop running clean. So storage of skin sanitizers is good to have. Now, water. This is arguably the most important resource in the world. So if the water quality in your town ever becomes so bad that you can't even boil it as a way of making drinking water, this is why it's extremely important to have a backup water supply. Now, many people consider their nearby creeks and ponds to be backup water supplies. So these are usually usable unless there was a recent toxicity advisory in the area. Some people have wells in their backyards, which are excellent sources of water. But of course, you can also just buy purified water by the gallon or those large packs of bottled water. Or you can get empty water containers that are designed to hold lots of immense amounts of water over the long term. Now, it's not a good practice to use other kinds of containers because of the complications from BPAs, again, in the plastic leaching into the water or possible resealing issues. So just stick to the water containers strictly. These water containers will either come with a spigot, which is a spout, or just a cap on top, and they can be huge. They can be a gallon, they can be a couple gallons or 3 gallons, they can be almost as tall as a person. So when you get a really big water drum, and it only has a cap, you'll definitely want the appropriate pump so you can actually use the thing. And if you have kids, really young kids, you want to keep some of these water containers. If they have spigots, if they have the spouts, you want to keep them locked, or at least keep the rooms locked that are containing these water drums, because otherwise your 3-year-old will go in there and open up the valve, and then they'll have a flood in the basement floor. And this has happened to somebody before. So keep these things locked. Now, some people like to fill these up with tap water. So if you decide to do this, you really should filter the water out before you drink it, at least. Because the fact of the matter is that tap water isn't really that clean. In America, their water is fluoridated, and this causes all sorts of problems. And in other parts of the world, it just is not that clean. There are heavy metals, sludge, and it causes all sorts of brain damages, mental problems, and when it's impure, obviously it can, when it gets worse, it can cause illness too. So you should always filter them before you're drinking. And, these impurities are sitting and accumulating in small amounts over the months if you're just storing these in these bins, right? Now, the next survival period is the 1 year or longer span. And at this stage, you're no longer just prepping and living off of this limited supply, but you're in the circumstance where you may need to start growing and sustaining your own agriculture. So in this case, your most valuable assets are your land and your plant seeds and a few other things, because they might become your only long-term source of food or resources. And of course, you'll need all the appropriate tools that process this food, like manual crank grinders for the grains, other kinds of herb grinders, pressure canners for preserving food, vacuum sealable bags, and the vacuums that can create the seal, and a reliable way to generate off-grid power, like a portable solar generator usually with folding solar panels. And this can keep your electronics running. It keeps your communication devices running. Obviously your smartphones, but also your burner phones or radios and any small medical equipment and your lights and your heat sources even, and whatever it is that you need. So, and some people like to keep their own chickens in their backyard, and some people have ranges. They have range cattle. But I don't recommend eating meat because this is a spiritual channel, and I'm aware of the karmic impacts and also the health impacts that meat has. It's just not a good idea. So, however, fish is a much better alternative. So consider getting your own fishing gear so you can catch and gut your own fish. This is assuming that your nearby rivers and lakes or ocean are still clean enough to eat from. The ocean, of course, has never been that clean for the past few decades, but certain parts are reasonably clean. You can fish from it. So this has to be, monitored. As for water, again, you move away from small filters and into large-scale gravity systems like a Berkey or a do-it-yourself sand and charcoal filtration setup that can handle, like hundreds of gallons before they need to be changed. And finally, the most overlooked necessity for long-term survival is currency, because in really severe economic recessions, money can lose its value. And in the US, there's nearly $39 trillion of debt that's only going to increase as time goes by. So it's important to always have a collection of assets with tangible or intrinsic value. This can be a house, this is a car, can be a motorcycle, heaters, and then in these times it would be, propane fuel, as I said, the heater, gasoline fuel, medicine, plant seeds, lighters, candles, and even physical books on planting and gardening and engine repair or medical care, because it's possible that a digital collapse happens one day and wipes out much of the information on our internet servers. And even cash has some tangible value because it never malfunctions, unlike debit machines and credit cards or debit cards. So cash is always a good thing to keep with you at all times, wherever you go. But it's also an asset that you can store away. However, the most valuable tangible asset today that has seen a major increase in popularity and value over just the past couple of years are gold and silver. Silver, especially because of the boom in AI technology and silver's ability to conduct electricity. It's actually the most conductive metal on Earth. So silver is the most important investment you can make today, and it will always be a strong, tangible asset. Now, as for where to buy gold and silver, you need to have some discernment in this because now that these metals are very popular again, there are many scams out there. There is a website called Gold Protects that checks the validity of your gold bullion. And I guess like gold stores and companies. The safest way to buy is from your, I should say, emphasizing that the safest way to buy is from your banks because the purity is guaranteed, but this is expensive. So the next option is gold bullion stores. Even Costco has a major source. It is a major source in gold and silver bars now. The places you don't want to buy are from eBay, typically online like eBay, Amazon, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, or pawn shops, unless you have a way of checking the purity and you're an expert in this. You don't want to buy from television infomercials or from websites selling very cheaply. There is one website that is good and reliable. It's I think it's called Advantage Gold, and they are a U.S. brand, so I don't know what options they have for shipping to other countries. Coin shops aren't a great source anymore because, either they sell collectibles that carry an expensive premium because they're rare and vintage. So you have to spend much more on these coins than what they're actually worth in weight because of that vanity premium. So it's no longer worth the meltdown to convert into a pure silver or gold. Now, actually, there's one food that I forgot to mention that is primarily meat, but I've reconsidered the context of this situation we're talking about here, which is, medium to long-term survival, which is a very rare but exceptional case. So use your discretion if you want to eat meat for this potential time. And this food is pemmican. It's a very popular and very traditional native food, and it's almost never expires. It's made of dried meat and fats and fruit. So it's an excellent source of energy. It may be worth looking into how to make this stuff and where to get it.